Hey, what's up, y'all? This is ChurchofCaboose, bringing you guys another Destiny 2 video. And before we get into what the video is about, if you happen to like this video, do me a huge favor and hit the like button. And if you would like to see more content by moi, yours truly, then please hit subscribe. And now we'll move on to the actual video. Thanks for putting up with that. Shameless plug, I guess. Okay, so today's video is all about exotic armors. What you should have, what are really OP, what's fun to use, and we're going to go over Titans, Warlocks, and then Hunters. The reason we're doing this video is because there's several people that are back from Destiny after taking a long hiatus, or perhaps they're just taking advantage of free-to-play and maybe never even played Destiny. And there are tons of exotic armor pieces out there, and it can be hard to know which ones are actually useful and for what. So I thought I would make a video about what exotic armor pieces I use and what I like to use them for. And we're going to try to keep this as brief as we can, because we could honestly probably make a super long video, and I don't want to do that to myself or to you guys. So we're going to be starting this off with Titans. Titans are my main character I play on, so that makes the most sense to me to start off this video with about Titan exotics and what armors you should get. I also wanted to do this video because of Xur. Xur sells exotic armors, one per class, every single weekend, and it's not too hard to find. Just Google where is Xur, and I'll have a link down below. I'm like 99.9% certain there is an app that's free on Android and iPhones, and so I'll have a link for that app down below, and the app will also tell you what Xur is selling. And so if you are able to use other apps and know what armor pieces you have and you don't have, then that kind of will save you some time from running to Xur and then finding out you already have it. But it's also worth looking at the rolls, because I missed out on an insane roll of an exotic armor one weekend, and thankfully to Armor 2.0 I don't feel that bad anymore, because it was only insane for a little bit. But yeah, so Xur can be very useful, and there's tons of armors, so let's get on into what you guys should be worrying about trying to have for the meta and for fun. Kicking it off with Titans, so here we go. Alrighty, so here's an overall look at my Titan, and probably not surprisingly, the Helm of Saint 14 is my favorite Titan exotic armor as of right now for the Season of Dawn. Basically, what this armor does is it blinds enemies that go into your Ward of Dawn, or if you use your Sentinel Shield top tree, it just instead of holding the super, you just kind of tap it. Then when you are, I guess, creating that little banner shield thing, you blind enemies that are near you. So this helmet basically blinds everything, which is fantastic when you have that bubble shield, which also gives you armor of light and gives you weapons of light. And so it just adds so much to your game to be able to have everything blinded. Now, One-Eyed Mask was insanely popular for PvP. I like the Helm of Saint 14 more for PvE, but it is fun in PvP, whereas One-Eyed Mask is the bomb. It's the bee's knees on PvP. Basically, it used to mark enemies when you killed them. It gave you an overshield, insta health. Now it still marks enemies, but it just increases your health regeneration as well as some damage with your weapons once you have killed whatever it is that you have marked for vengeance. There used to be nothing more terrifying than hopping into comp and getting marked for vengeance ×4, and now it's not as bad thanks to the nerf, which is why it is number 2 because of its PvP status. Peregrine Greaves are also a fantastic armor piece to have. They came out with the Season of Opulence. Basically, run any kind of a shoulder charge thing. I prefer Hammer Strike, and when you jump in the air, you get increased damage. The reason I prefer Hammer Strike is because Hammer Strike gives your whole team an opportunity to do additional damage to that enemy that you have hit, and so when you're doing that extra damage from your strike, it just works much more efficiently on those big old tanky bosses in PvE. Peregrine Greaves are something I mostly use in PvE, but if you want to use them in PvP, it is pretty nifty to be able to run away from a Spectral Blade, turn around and slam them and kill them. They're like, what the heck? But that is a pretty high skill gap to pull that off consistently. Then Hollowfire Heart is also pretty nifty. I like it quite a bit. That's why I masterworked it. However, it's pretty niche. What this exotic armor piece does is it just increases your ability recharge rates. So you have a hammer strike that comes back faster, your grenades or whatever it is that you are using, this recharges at a faster rate. And if you have your super, just keep your super and you get everything recharged even faster. So you kind of trade off using your super. And then for which is also more of a PvE thing, but can be fun in PvP. Insurmountable Skullfront I almost only use in PvP, almost only in Iron Banner, because they always have that bounty, get so many kills while using supers or abilities, and you get your melee back when you shoulder charge someone as long as it kills them, which is great in Iron Banner. Run around, shoulder charge, get the kill, you get your shoulder charge energy immediately back, and you just keep repeating that cycle over and over until you either get killed or someone's high enough power they somehow don't die. So I mostly use that for PvP. Ursa Furiosa, sorry, I have a hard time saying that. It is a fantastic armor piece. It gives you your super back when you use Banner Shield, which is the middle tree of Void. See a trend? Most of these things are Void for Titans. And it has a fun ornament that basically you have your Banner Shield, just hold down the trigger so that way you have your Banner Shield going, and as you block incoming damage from the enemy, you get your super back. Anyone shooting from behind through your shield also does increase damage. Just make sure you're not standing in a well when you're using your Banner Shield, because you will not get your super energy back unless that happens to be something that they fixed. But otherwise, this is an excellent way to get your super back, is to use Banner Shield. Now we're going to go over to collections real quick to show you guys one other Titan exotic armor piece. I don't really use this one that much myself, but there's been lots of glitches and infinite shield throws that have come from the Doomfang Cauldrons? Yeah, Doomfang Pauldrons. These things usually have some kind of a weird glitch where they work infinitely for shield throws, but basically, Void melee kills give super energy while Sentinel Shield is active. Melee kills recharge shield throws while extends your super on hits. So you can have a really long super when you have that infinite shield throw thing, which is why this armor piece is on my list, because it's really fun to use, especially when there happens to be a glitch that lets you use your super infinitely. Now we're going to go ahead and wrap that up for the Titans. We got the meta stuff, which is basically all of them, except for Doomfang Pauldron. Hollowfire Heart was also more for fun, as well as the Insurmountable Skullfront. So let's take a look at the Warlock and Hunters. Alright, so for Warlocks, the first up is Phoenix Protocol. This particular exotic chest piece gives you back super energy when you and your allies get kills or assists while in your Well of Radiance. This particular armor piece has made certain raid strats with the Garden of Salvation completely feasible to be. They're usually called like well strat, where you just kind of rely on wells and leave out some mechanics of that raid. Wells are also really popular for using other like loading options, and wells are just super duper popular in PvE. They can be nifty in control in PvP, but Phoenix Protocol is best used in the player burst environment, specifically raids in the Garden of Salvation or those higher end PvE activities. Lunafaction boots are also incredible. They basically really increase your reload speed when you're standing in a rift. So they work for any Warlock class. As long as you have a rift down and you're in that rift, you and your allies get increased reload speed. Until Shadowkeep, it was just auto reload, which made grenade launchers and some other things super duper popular and would one phase raid bosses, specifically Galron from the Crown of Sorrows raid. These are amazing boots to have. Make sure you pick a pair of those up. They are great for PvE or PvP, but most used probably in PvE. Now, we got Geomax Stabilizers. If you are someone who likes Thor and throwing out lightning and thunder, Chaos Reach is probably your boy, and therefore you want to have on Geomax Stabilizers. They get you your super quickly. Once you get your super around 80%, just sprint and you top off your super, so you don't even have to get your full super energy like you have to do with everything else. You also get a longer Chaos Reach time as long as you are doing some damage, so you can have a pretty long Chaos Reach, and Chaos Reach is pretty nifty because you can cut it off in the middle and not use the entirety of your super energy, and you can save yourself some super. which is nice, and it's the only ability, for whatever reason, that does that. I don't know why no other class lets you cut off your super early, but it is what it is. Alright, now we're going to move on a little bit to some more fun pieces of Warlock exotic armor. The Getaway Artist lets you turn your grenade into an autonomous arc soul. So you just, instead of a grenade, just hold the grenade button and it turns into an arc soul that follows you around. It's pretty fun to have on when the arc burn is active in PvE, and it's not bad either for PvP. It gives you kind of like a little sidekick for a brief period of time. And if you got your build set up where you get lots of grenades really quickly, then Getaway Artist might be really fun to use. But I wouldn't necessarily use it over other stuff if you're trying to do some of those harder end game activities. Those first three are more meta. We're in the fun part of the Warlock now. We also got Controverse Hold. You might have been getting your butt kicked by super handheld Supernovas and Crimson Days, and part of that is because Controverse Hold increases how your grenade ability resists incoming damage while charging your void grenades, and charged void grenades return at a random amount of grenade energy on a hit. So you could get your whole grenade back, you could get part of it back, but they really shave off the time needed in order to get your grenades back. And you get like a little overshield. It looks kind of like a Risk Runner shield if you're familiar with Risk Runner, when someone has their grenade held and they have on that armor piece. Now we're on the Skull of Dar Ahamkara. This thing was really meta because you would get your super back upon Nova Bomb kills, but they nerfed it and how much energy you get back, so it's not quite as popular, which is why it's in the fun part of the Warlock exotic armor. It also has a pretty nifty, terrifying looking ornament, and I just want to really quick point out, I think it's hilarious that since I'm on my Titan, the Warlocks are like all space and voidy other than the armor piece we're looking at. I don't know, I thought that was a nice touch. At first I was confused, I was like, what the heck is all that spacey stuff? And now it's just kind of like a fun, like, oh look, that's kind of cool. I don't know. I just wanted to point that out. It tickles my funny bone. Now let's look at some hunter armor. Alright, for the hunters, I must confess, I'm not a hunter main, so if you have any additions you would add to this armor, just let me know down below. But the first I would recommend would be Celestial Nighthawk. It pretty much turns your golden gun, which can be 3 to 9 shots, depending upon the tree, into one overpowered shot. This is really popular for raids, when you're trying to drop bosses, or if you're doing those like basically PvE activities. It does have a perk where enemies that you kill with the Celestial Nighthawk will explode, but that's not very common for folks to use and see happen, just because Celestial Nighthawk is mostly used on those really tanky raid bosses and other high damage soaking things from PvE activities. I would not recommend using this in PvP, just because you only get one shot. Sure, you will obliterate whoever it is, even if they're in a super, so I suppose if you really are that paranoid about supers, then go for it. Otherwise, I would only use this particular exotic armor in PvE, most often in raids. Orpheus Rig is another incredibly popular exotic armor. It generates tons of orbs for your teams, because basically when you tether, I would use the tether that gives you one tether. I believe that is top tree, and then I would not really use it on Mobius, but when you tether, you tether for longer and you get your super energy back, and it does give you more arrows in your Mobius quiver. But again, I would recommend mostly using the top tree of the one singular tether that increases damage to all your teammates. So you get your super back, you give your teammates lots of orbs so they get their super backs, and it's fantastic on PvE. It is fun to use for PvP if you are in Mayhem, because you can shut down supers and it'll stay in place for a while, and it's a lot of fun just to kind of fool around with in PvP, but I would mostly recommend using Orpheus Rig in PvE. Now we're kind of one last armor piece that's kind of meta, and that would be the Stompies. Stompies give you increased mobility, so more sprint, farther slide, and more jump, which is why it's pretty popular for competitive playlists or PvP in general. Folks also like to use it for jumping puzzles in PvE, or things that are perhaps just a little bit out of hunter reach, such as the 0-hour outbreak story mission that gives you the outbreak or the catalyst, depending upon which version you are doing, Stompies are pretty popular to get through all that jumping stuff. So that's the main point of Stompies. PvP and PvE, I've mostly seen it used consistently for PvP and only like for little segments of PvE. Now we're on to kind of the fun stuff with the Hunter. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Hunter and what I would love from you guys as we kind of go through. Feel free to pause the video so you can read what these different exotic armor pieces do. So let's just kind of get on to my Hunter rant. So from when I was going through my collections list of Hunters have a lot of really fun and like niche and nifty exotic armor pieces that really lots of people, from my experience, use and recommend. Like those Gemini Jesters, are blind and disable radar, which is pretty fun to have as an option if you love going in close in PvP, but maybe not great in PvE. Then you've got Dragon Shadow, which is pretty standard, I think, for competitive, but because of how many other good Crucible PvP stuff it is, I wouldn't say it's the only one people use, but basically that this Dragon Shadow gives you both your reloads. So when you do your dodge, if you don't have the Shadow on, you can either get your weapon reloaded or recharge your melee. Well, Dragon Shadow recharges your weapon, so you just put on Gambler's Dodge for your melee, and boom, you get both your dodges to do what they're supposed to do, and the Gambler's Dodge lets you roll farther, and so you get a pretty huge advantage for dodging when you use the Dragon Shadow. So it's just been really interesting when I was trying to make this Hunter list, trying to find just a couple of these exotic armor pieces to show you. Part of it's just because I don't play Hunter that much, but also because so many of these armor pieces are so specific and niche that lots of people use them, and it's just kind of like, man, no wonder folks hate on Hunters. Not only now do they have those ridiculous throwing knives that somehow like curve around walls, and like they're basically like little mini Gallahorns, it feels like. I've seen some whack videos about how these throwing knives will track. And you have all these exotic armors that let you buff certain like aspects of your character, whether it be invisibility, extended supers, getting energy back, increasing grenade abilities. They're endless. Like Hunters have tons of options with their armor pieces, which is maybe why Hunters tend to be very dominant in PvP. Like if you go and look at some of the big streamers or folks that really love playing PvP and getting to Legend, it seems to me they usually tend to be Hunter mains, and I think that's because they can really tailor what they want and what they enjoy doing, thanks to all of these really niche exotics. Like if you notice with the Hunters, or the Warlocks and the Titans, they were pretty powerful exotics, but not necessarily really specific. Like the Helm of St. 14 gives blinding for a bubble or your super just in general. Then you had the One-Eyed Mask, which no matter what class you are on, lets you basically wall hack. So like you see what I'm saying? Then we had the Warlock, which is more like get your super back quicker and maybe have increased reload speed. And then maybe get like Nova Bomb and grenade stuff back. Whereas this Hunter's like, oh yeah, you can wall hack with the foe tracers. You can have your radar up all the time with Knucklehead radar. You can get your super back and for longer with the Orpheus rig. You can go invisible and like do all kinds of weird stuff with one of the helmets and make people lose their radar and go blind with the leg armor. It's just through the wall. They got all kinds of options. Granted, the other two classes have some similar types of armors. They both have things that increase speed, but the Hunters seem to have the unfair advantage of being able to get really nitty-gritty picky to the point where there's not really armor that stands out as being super duper meta. Like the the Titan and the Warlock have a couple of pieces that basically everyone's like, yes, you need to use those. Whereas Hunters have, well, here's a couple of options, especially in PvP. In PvE, Hunters are a little bit like the other two classes. You really only either use Celestial Nighthawk or Orpheus rig, but for PvP, you got tons of options that are pretty common, whereas Titans and Warlocks have, technically they got all like tons of options, but for stuff that's commonly used, there are things that are commonly used, and there's just a couple of those armor pieces. All right, off my soapbox about the good old Hunter advantage. whatever thingy bobber. Alright guys, I really hope this video helped y'all out to know perhaps what armor pieces I would recommend you go out and try to get, especially if you are looking to spend your hard-earned resources at Xur, or if you're just trying to farm and hoping RNG will bless you, and then what to maybe infuse and increase energy and mod. Those mod things. Want you guys to use your resources the best you can. Those Ascendant Shards to masterwork the exotic armor pieces are pretty hard to come by. You have to do the hardest version of the Nightfall and kill every single champion in order to get those exotic shards that let you masterwork your exotic armor pieces, and you need 3 of them at least per armor in order to get it masterworked when you're doing exotic armor, I guess, energy increasing. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you did, please like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel so you can keep the most up to date. Also, if you happen to be someone that's curious about the military and you just kind of want to, I guess, support what I do, I started another YouTube channel that's all about the military. So it'll be what to expect when you're going in, maybe when you're getting out, how you get in, different branches work, political views, just it's what we're going to see what happens with it. So if you want to just kind of, maybe you like me and just want to help me out, go over to Operation Defender. I will have a link to one of the videos down below, probably my introduction video, and just check that out and see if it's something for you. If you have kids that are thinking about it, or if you're a veteran yourself, this might be something you enjoy. And I'm also looking for co-hosts to maybe help me talk about some subjects that I am not the best, like the most knowledgeable on, and we would try to get you in on a video, and let's just try and grow this channel together and see where it goes. So thank you for listening to another shameless plug about something else I am working on. So thanks for watching this Destiny 2 video. I am ChurchofCaboose. Have a great week and happy grinding, y'all.